What is up, nerds? Welcome back to episode 13 of the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. I'm your host, Lewis, here with always my co-host, Justin. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, dude. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm lovely, man. You've been playing, dude. First question. You got to play this week? What's going on, man?
This is becoming our original opener now.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go through this. Playing quite a bit and testing, paddles, of course. And I got a paddle in specific I want to talk about this week. That's this bad boy. Look, I know I'm late to the party, y'all. I know everyone's been going on and on about the Chorus shapeshifter for a long time now, even to the point where the hype built up and then even kind of fell back off. But I just got one. I just started playing with it. It's really damn good. It's really good. So remember last week when you were asking me, what my favorite was, what I would take to a tournament? This is it now. That's my
the new main.
Current favorite paddle. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a main just because I have too many things, coming in and that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
But right now, that's the one that, in my bag that I want to pull out. It's still like razor thin. And this is like totally backwards from last week, but I actually been preferring the J2H over the J3K Pro now.
Oh.
So it might just be a shape thing. I don't know. I've told you recently I kind of landed on, I think, like hybrid is my preferred shape, probably the one I perform the best with and just, feel the most comfortable with. So that probably has a lot to do with it. But yeah, this shapeshifter, Matt at Chorus, great freaking job. This thing is awesome. The spin is incredible, even though it doesn't even feel that gritty. It just does everything well. I mean, it's not going to blow your mind immediately with one thing that it does as soon as you pick it up, but it just is a paddle that you can just play well with. It just has enough of everything and really great spin. I found that, I was probably getting more spin than I'm used to, with a general paddle. So,
dang, that's awesome, man. Even more than the J3K Pro?
Shout out. Yeah, and I think it's because that one is a little bit poppier, so maybe it doesn't feel like as much dwell time. Yeah, and maybe that's perception. I don't have a radar gun. I'm not testing the spin here, but the perception I get from the shapeshifter is that I'm able to shape my shots more. Especially with
the shapeshifter.
Yeah, little dipping shots, like especially topspin drops and kind of those sort of, I don't know what you call them, like mid-court approach dinks. Where they're at the kitchen and you got to come in and you want to hit like a quick little dipper,
right? To
get in and aggressive. Just a great shot of that paddle.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
That's my highlight of the week, I guess.
Yeah, that's something that people don't put enough emphasis on, and it's like if I said in reviews like, "Hey, this feels like it spins a lot," people would be like, "You're an idiot, Lewis. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah." But it's like, perception is almost more important than reality in pickleball and in golf, too. Like, two sports where it's like, feel is not necessarily real, but it also has a very huge impact on your confidence levels and your just ability to play. So, feels huge and something that you should not underestimate. Just because you see that a paddle has more spin on someone else's database or has more power on someone else's database doesn't mean that you're going to align with that completely. So, including if I say that. So, don't take everything we say as truth and facts. So,
you just touched on it like perfectly, because I was going to say that it's just a confidence thing. Like I've been playing back and forth with the shapeshifter and the J2H, and I was trying to decide between the two. And I almost feel like just as a paddle, just objectively, like the J2H has more to offer. However, I have been playing much more confidently with the shapeshifter, and specifically on shots like, aggressive thirds or fifths. Like I said, when you're coming in on a fifth shot from the midcourt and you need to really get a shot that's down but that can get you to the kitchen without getting killed, and aggressive like topspin cross-court dinks. Those three types of shots in particular, I just have so much confidence with the shapeshifter to actually hit it aggressively. Whereas with the J2H, now all of a sudden my fifth shot, approach shot, or my cross-court dinks, I'm kind of like hanging back a little. Sure, it might still be in, but it's just not quite as aggressive. And that's not to say that paddle can't do that. That's all me. It's just the feel that's giving me confidence to really actually swing a little bit harder or a little bit faster to get the spin from the paddle. So,
Yeah.
maybe it isn't that the paddle spins more, it's just that it gives me more confidence to swing a little faster with it.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you completely that feel matters a lot.
Absolutely. And also that J2H, man, $99.
Oh, that's a great paddle for that price.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I recommended it just the other day, actually. Somebody was fairly new, but kind of looking for their first serious paddle. And they were like, I want a hybrid paddle that's leaning power and something under $100. And I was like, easy.
Boy, do I have the paddle for you.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, J2, or if you want to like get a little bit more, J2H.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely two super easy recommendations. The J2 lineup is just a stellar, all-encompassing paddle lineup that can do everything and is just crazy stable. So it's just like such an easy recommendation, and why the J2K is currently my number one most popular or top paddle currently available. So but the shapeshifter, taking nothing away from that paddle is badass. I mean, Matt made a killer paddle with that. So
that's an amazing paddle.
All of these paddles we talk about, they're just so close. It's splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah, we're spoiled. It's like an embarrassment of riches, And the shapeshifter is about to come in a few different shapes, paddle shapes. So
we got
Matt,
some things coming.
I'm not breaking any news here. Matt, the owner, of course, he's shown pictures of it and everything, but I'm really looking forward to they're coming with an elongated and a standard shape, and the standard shape looks really good.
Yeah.
And same surface, same kind of construction, same layup. So the standard shapeshifter, that one's going to be probably a contender for me personally. It's just that's right up my alley. So
Did he post the metrics for them yet?
Like swing weight, twist weight stuff?
Yeah, swing weight, twist weight.
No, I don't think so. He might have. I didn't see it, but
yeah, very intrigued to hear that. So yeah, man. I've been playing. I've actually been drilling a lot and playing. I played so much on Saturday, dude. I felt like I was about to die of heat stroke for a second there. I was like, guys, I gotta quit. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like killing water. I was like wearing sun sleeves. I was making sure that I was crossing all the T's and dotting the I's. It was just insanely hot. So I played well, though, man. I played with the Selkirk SLK Halo Pro 14mm XL that I just dropped a review for, and then also played a bunch with the Reload. So getting some very good amount of time with the Reload to do a full review of it, just because I think that is one of the more revolutionary products that we've seen in the paddle,
definitely
market for a long time. So, but yeah, I mean, to talk more about the SLK Halo Pro. My bad, I just bumped my mic. Sorry about that, guys. Oh man, I've been meaning to say this for like no joke 10 episodes. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify podcast and you enjoy this, or you don't enjoy it, doesn't really matter. If you listen to it, please leave a review. It helps us grow and get out to more people. And if you hate us, just give us that sweet 1-star review. We like that too. So hit us with some ratings on the podcast, Apples and Spotify. I can't talk.
You know what
right
they're
now.
going to say? They're going to be like, this Justin guy is always showing stuff and never saying what it is. I just realized I was doing that with the paddle. And I thought about it like 30 seconds later. I was like, oh, I need to say the name of this paddle. I was just like, this one,
This paddle right here.
So,
anyway. Well, to get back to the SLK Pro 14mm XL, this is Selkirk or SLK's new Halo Pro lineup, this is shocking. It is a thermoform paddle that
with a Kevlar face?
Yeah, which features edge foam, obviously, and has a carbon fiber Kevlar. They call it the link weave face, and it is actually like a pretty sharp looking paddle. I mean, the face
it does look good.
Very cool looking. So this paddle is elongated, 14 millimeters, has a pretty underwhelming swing weight to twist weight ratio, which is 119 for the swing weight and 5.9 for its twist weight, which is not the best, but falls in line with quite a few elongated shape 14 millimeter paddles. It plays a little bit above its twist weight, so it's fairly stable. That's for a elongated shape paddle. I've only played with it for about 4 or 5 hours now, but it doesn't suck at all. Like, not even a little bit. It's actually a pretty damn good paddle. It's solid. I have nothing bad to say about it. It really isn't a bad paddle at all. And I've been very critical of Selkirk in the past, and the fact that they are implementing all of today's current, technologies into a paddle, and this is like the big caveat, and doing it for a very competitive price at $150 is like mind-blowing to me. And I could not believe that this was actually happening, as someone who has been a pretty big advocate of Selkirk needing to improve their paddle lineup. So the SLK Pro Halo, it's an interesting paddle, and if you're a big-time Selkirk lover and you like the Halo lineup previously, I think this is an easy recommendation for a step up, because it is a better paddle overall. So yeah, man. Did that surprise you too? Or did that come out of left field? You didn't even know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. Well, when you said if someone like Selkirk is a good fit, also, there aren't that many 14 millimeter or 13 millimeter elongated paddles.
There's
generally
not
a lot of the thinner cores are standard or hybrid. So it is kind of filling a niche. And like you said, it looks great. So if that's your thing, is like thin core elongated, and you just want something that looks good, that's a great price, and it's going to perform pretty well, according to your review that you posted. And also, hey, does it come in blue too, or just red?
Oh man, I can't remember.
I thought I saw a blue one.
I don't think there is a blue one, but there is a black one.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there's a black one for sure, but that's carbon fiber. It's kind of like the 18K, but it's actually like, cubes rather than, it's actual not orientated 45-degree angle. They're just, regular squares.
It's called biaxial rather than triaxial.
There we go. Yeah. I couldn't think of the words right there. Thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad about these paddles. I was trying my best to be like, okay, let's figure out how these are going to underperform to the market and be consistent with all of their other paddles. But there really wasn't anything. I mean, it was perfectly fine. In fact, I played great with the paddle, which doesn't happen very often with elongated shape paddles. Like, usually don't play very well with those. So yeah, man, Selkirk, y'all did it. Like, it's happening. Y'all are making paddles that are equivalent to the current technology that's happening, and I applaud y'all. And I think they have I didn't want to say this in my review in case I got it wrong, but I'm pretty sure they have an insanely good warranty on their paddles.
Selkirk does. The SLK line is
SLK, different. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's
so, I mean, it's still not a bad warranty, and Selkirk in general, even with the SLK line, has a great reputation for treating their customers right when it comes to warranty. So I think you're right in that they have a great warranty, but it's probably not what you were thinking of, the Selkirk lifetime warranty.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's one thing that I am horrible about in my reviews, is not looking up warranties and taking that in account for. Because at the end of the day, it is probably important for most people who are spending their money. They want to know that there's a good warranty on a paddle. So I'll try to get better with that. No promises. But yeah. Anyway, so on to another paddle. This is a paddle that I've been trying to test and review and get to. I've talked about it quite a few times on the podcast, but it is the Enhanced Pickleball Sweet Spot Pro. This is a 16 millimeter thermoformed raw carbon fiber elongated shape paddle. So pretty basic. What you see from a lot of companies. It's a little heavy. Mine came in at 124 swing weight, but it doesn't feel overly head heavy. It felt, obviously noticeably heavier than most paddles, but it performed perfectly fine. So Enhanced Pickleball is probably a name that you have heard before, especially if you're anyone who, goes on TikTok or watches YouTube Shorts. They make a ton of informative content, training content, and just content in general about pickleball. I do really like Connor, who is the owner of Enhanced Pickleball. He's a super nice guy. He literally was just like, hey, wasn't trying to make the best paddle. I was just trying to make a cheaper and better SLK Halo. And he did that exactly. I mean, this is Gen 2 thermoformed. I think it's $119 after discount code Pursuit. If that's incorrect, I'll put the correct promo code on the bottom. But I did like this paddle. It was good. It was actually a softer feeling elongated shape paddle. Had decent stability for a elongated shape paddle. But if you are very sensitive to high swing weight paddles, probably not the best paddle for you. But if you really like Enhanced Pickleball and you want to support a good group of people, I think this is definitely an interesting paddle to look at and will perform as good as any other elongated shape thermoformed raw carbon fiber paddle, and for a pretty damn good price. So well done, Connor. Appreciate you sending that over, man. Keep up the great work, and I'm sure we'll also have some more things coming from y'all. And I'll continue to use the balance pods, which we recommended a couple podcasts ago. So, yeah, man. Sorry for just rolling on paddle talk, but we're gonna get Justin in this. Justin's gonna talk a little more.
We gotta do a little bit more paddle talk because you said you were gonna cut back on the reviews, but I'm assuming you still have some in the queue, right?
Lots in the queue, man. Lots in the queue. So, some that
give us the highlights.
Did I talk about the Slice Pro last time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Just want to make sure I covered that. So we got a few paddles that came in this week.
There's a few I'm jealous of. I'm actually kind of mad.
Yeah. So the Dynamis from Ethos Pickleball, which, man, I'm going to go ahead and say this. They make arguably the best handle in pickleball.
Yeah, I agree. I said that about the Arete. Remember that?
Yeah, it's just a great feeling handle. This paddle, Dustin from PB Med or Pickleball Medicine, had a glowing review. It's a very fast, super quick paddle. I think it scored at 8.2 on our maneuverability rating. And man, it's stiff. It's going to be a poppy paddle. So makes sense why he likes it, because he is a 5.0 player and significantly better than me. So I will probably hate it. But I'm sure it will perform very well. So there's actually been a lot of paddles that I hate and would never play with that I gave really glowing reviews, because I know that they will meet the needs of some people and be very high performative paddles. So yeah, Dynamis from Ethos Pickleball came in, and then we also have the newly released Neonic Flare Prime, which is a carbon fiber fiberglass 14 millimeter wide body paddle. And also, boom, look at that. This is the Neonic Flare 16 millimeter, and it is a titanium face. It's pretty badass. I mean, it looks super good. It uses the gold weave, which I think is the best looking titanium carbon fiber weave, and looking forward to seeing how these play. Titanium.
These are the ones I'm mad about.
Yeah, these, man.
Let's be clear to the audience. Lewis bribed USPS or did some kind of favors to get those paddles early, and the rest of us are still waiting. So whenever you send me a picture, I've been mad at him ever since. So
everybody knows you could never do anything to bribe USPS. They're just gonna do whatever they want, dude. It's a mess up in that place. Every time I go to USPS, I feel like I need to take a bath.
I had to go today.
It's awful. Oh. Yeah. It feels horrible, and everybody in there is so nice and friendly, but man, it's just a hectic, psycho, unorganized, very unfriendly place.
I had to
people are friendly,
ship a box of paddles, by the way, today.
Yeah.
And I went to USPS because it was quite a few paddles. Anyway, I expected USPS to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
That cost me $120 for the cheapest option.
Dude. Man.
It's a lot of paddles.
I shipped you those paddles today. $27. $27 UPS ground from Louisiana to Texas. That's one state away, guys. $27.
When you ship me stuff, it's like a 2-day. It just gets here in a couple days. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I only gave you $20 for that. So
don't worry about it. Ain't no big deal.
You're out $7.
I was just saying that to just tell you that it was very expensive.
Yeah, maybe that's shipping inflation right under our noses, dude, and we didn't even know.
It's getting out of control. And I get it. Like I always feel bad being like, geez, that's expensive to the 23-year-old dude who's just working there because he has a job there. Yeah. And I'm like, I know you can't control the prices.
They work so hard. Honestly, all the people, like the delivery drivers and the truckers, that's hard work. So
I can't get.
Hopefully they're getting some of that money. But.
Hopefully. Well, sweet man. That's pretty much the end of my paddle queue. There's quite a few more paddles that we've talked about that also will be some way, shape, or form used in either reviews on here or actual reviews in my on my channel. But there's a couple that I can't talk about, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, man, we got some good stuff coming. Of those that I talked about, probably the Neonic flares are the only ones that will receive a full length review in the on the YouTube channel, in addition with the Reload, which will be the next review that comes out. So yeah, man, paddles, dude, it's getting to where I can't keep up, and I'm glad I do this podcast because I do value all of these paddles that are being sent to me, and a lot of them are really damn good, and I just don't have enough time to make every single one. And honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man, I don't want to make 4 reviews a week because I feel like I'm doing a disservice to y'all, honestly. Like I could be making better reviews less frequently and supplementing that with different types of content, which I will be doing. So yeah, it's going to happen, man. I'm trying to differentiate.
Oh yeah, you didn't actually talk about that on last week's pod.
Oh yeah, that's right. In the first, how did I forget? In the first recording that went to shit, I talked about a new series that I'm going to do. It's going to be called Road. Yeah, it's going to be called Road to 4.0 Gold. So it's going to be a series about me drilling, practicing, just getting better, playing in tournaments, and just kind of documenting that to, utilize for content and hopefully make something that's enjoyable for other people to watch, but also just really it's for me to, look back on and see how I'm progressing over these next couple months. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that series. It's going to be a lot of fun. My rule is it has to be like a very well-established 4.0 tournament and to get a gold in to actually count. It can't be like, oh, there's 4 teams or there's 6 teams. Like it has to be like a deep tournament. There's got to be at least, 8 to 10 teams in these tournaments that in order for me to actually get a gold medal and go. So,
you want a little story time real quick?
Yeah. What you got, man?
This is totally unrelated. Okay. This just popped in my head. This is probably the first time I've thought of this story in 25 years. So,
oh gosh.
But anyway, whenever I was younger, I used to race motocross, and I had just moved to a new school. I was probably 7 or 8, maybe 9 years old, and I moved to a new area. Anyway, I remember I had a motocross race coming up that weekend, and I was bragging about it at school. We're talking like elementary school, but of course it's cool if you're going to race motocross. And I was trying to impress the girls at my new school. Well, anyway, I do the race on the weekend, and I got 3rd. I got a trophy. But here's what happened. There were 4 people in the race, and one of the people was my cousin, and I was in dead last until the last lap, and my cousin was in 3rd, and he wrecked on the last lap.
Oh my God.
And I like literally, it was like a movie. I barely passed him right before the finish line to get 3rd. But you better believe I took that 3rd place trophy to school the next week.
Hell
and
yeah,
just
you
really
did.
showed it off and be like, yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I guess I'm pretty good. I just moved here. I already got third place,
Yeah.
I'm just
Just
so
a
fast.
medalist in motocross. No big deal. No big deal.
Yeah. So
That's
anyway, just
awesome.
thought of that. But yeah, you did
Yeah.
tell me, go back to the tournaments. You did tell me that you're going to try to play one like legitimate tournament every month.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Gonna try to play one a month. I think the first one I'm gonna play in is middle of September. I won't be able to get to one in August just because they don't have any in August. It's too hot, and then the indoor facility has had no tournament. No tournaments to book.
yeah.
So yeah, man. Road to 4 gold, man. That's gonna happen, dude. I'm gonna finally win more than 2 games in a 4-0 tournament and get that gold one day.
All you have to do is get a different partner who's not me. You'll be
Yeah,
fine.
no. I don't know. You and I played some of the best we've played. I've played in a tournament. And that's hard to believe, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that the Texas tournament that we played in, there was some pretty stout competition there.
Oh,
so
yeah. It was a huge field too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah.
All right, man. Well,
Not
look,
to rehash all that.
yeah, we don't want to talk about that. Don't want to bring up dark times. But UPA, man. UPA is officially approving paddles. They're approving
That happened
paddles,
quicker than
man.
I expected, honestly.
It was shocking. And I don't even watch pro pickleball, and I know that this is happening. So, why don't you go in? This is more of your expertise. Why don't you go in? I've been talking way too much too, man.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if it's my expertise, but there's limited information to basically all of us out there. But what we saw at this past weekend's pro tournament is that UPAs now have approved paddles with the UPA approval stamp on them, and they're able to be used in the PPA pro tournament. Mm-hmm. Notably, what those paddles are. So these are the first paddles that UPA is approved. Now remember, UPA said, we're going to be the new governing body. We're going to do better than USAP. And they had all these claims about how their testing is going to be better and more rigorous. Now, first things they approve, the YOLA Gen 3s, essentially, right? Which is the new, it's called like the 3S. And then, of course, like the mods, it's all the same thing, or at least extremely similar.
Did the mod get approved by USAP?
The mod was already approved by USAP.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
That was the original prototype. And so now, even though it's the same as a Gen 3, USAP is like in a place where they are kind of foot in mouth because they already approved it, So it's like, well, I guess it has to be approved. But now you're seeing essentially the Gen 3s re-released slightly differently with UPA approval. So it's just so funny because they were like, we're going to do better. We're going to have a higher standard. We're going to have all this testing. And here they come out with just essentially what is just only deflection testing. And they approve the most controversial paddle, which is the thing that caused all this in the beginning, because it's like one of the first paddles to get pulled from the USAP list. So what a way to start, what a foot to start off on. But of course it makes perfect sense because money. UPA
money, bro,
is the ownership company of PPA, and then I'm not saying that YOLA's like in their pocket or they're in YOLA's pocket or anything like that, but however, it's a title sponsor. They have like a majority of the top 10 pros these days are playing with YOLAs. So,
I mean, they're not in their pocket. They're just on the advisory board.
Yeah, but it just maybe it makes business sense,
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I'm not particularly encouraged by that. On top of that, apparently the true numbers have come out. Remember, whenever we previously said, "Oh, it's leaked that it was going to be $100K per year and then $5K per paddle for these paddle companies to get approval." Well, the true numbers came out, and it's apparently $72,000 a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think the $5,000 per paddle and then $1,000 per additional paddle of that line is still the same. So it's a lot. It's definitely a barrier to entry, and we're going to see, at least a few companies, hopefully a few notable companies refuse to pay. I'm not really sure. But the UPA testing is kind of, it's not mature, and that's why I was shocked that it happened so quickly, because they basically said, we want to do this right, but then they came out and approved paddles of just deflection testing, no real power testing. And then now we're like hearing whispers of there's a spin test behind the scenes, and that they're going to test a maximum spin number for all these paddles, but they haven't released how they're doing that. Is that a robot arm? Do they have Ben John serving for them? Is it just a is it just a regular person? Are they just ripping numbers from the reviewers database? We have no idea, but they've set this arbitrary number. What'd you say it was?
2,200. It's either 22 or 2,300, but I'm almost certain it's 22.
Yeah, so they set an arbitrary number and said, this is the max spin allowable. And they did say that it didn't really exclude mini paddles, and apparently the ones that it did exclude weren't relevant to pro play anyway, or no player was playing with those paddles. So it didn't change anything about what the pros were allowed to play with. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there needs to be more information. Like I said, is this a robot? How did you come up with this number? I don't know. I'm just not feeling very confident. They had a chance to come in and come correct the first time, say, we're going to be a new governing body, we're going to do this right, we're going to do things, to the letter. And they had a chance to wait until they had all their ducks in a row and come in and be like, we have this advanced test, this advanced test, this advanced test. These are the reasons why we're testing this way and improving this way. And I just don't think they did that. I think they kind of, rushed, just say, and that may have partly been up to Yola, who wanted their paddles to be legal for tournament play because they have a lot of pros. So maybe Yola was saying, we're ready to pay. We're ready to pay. Approve it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
conjecture.
Yeah. We won't try to guess what is going on. But I will say, after hearing more about this and seeing this, it almost feels like they got this advisory board, which is, funny enough, the biggest and most, powerful, pickleball paddle brands on the advisory board. And it seems like they were just like, hey, what's a number that would work for everyone here that we know would put out any other potential competition? And now this is totally just me assuming all of this. None of this is absolutely true at all.
Keep your conspiracy theories to Reddit.
Yeah, it just seems like that's what the case is. It's like, hey, guys, we just want to make sure that, only y'all's paddles can be at our PPA tournaments. It's just like excluding all of these small brands that don't have enough money to line their pockets or be a big sponsor or be of help. So they're just going to say, hey, you know what? We're just going to stick with our core, companies that we know are going to be able to pay us in sponsorships and, have all these sponsored pros and all this. So it's all over the place. I am not a good person to, give these assumptions and conspiracy theories, but it just, as an outsider perspective from someone who watches virtually no pro pickleball, it just seems like this is the case. So, and the spin test is weird.
Yeah, that's weird. We just need more details.
Yeah,
if there are details, are there details?
It's just almost an arbitrary number. Yeah. Makes no sense. Tell us what. Do we have a paddle on a robot arm that's going the same speed as a average serve, or what are we doing? What are we doing here? Give us some details.
Right.
We need to know.
Something that I've been saying to many people behind the scenes now for a while. I mean, over 6 months, is that right now we talked about this a little bit on the pod. I think I said the same thing. Right now, the pickleball market itself is just booming, right? So you can picture it just going up and up and up. So any new brand who's going to come in, as long as they do average, they can just ride this up and up. And look at that. There's growth. They're going to succeed. But there's always going to be this point where it either levels off or maybe even dips. And at that point, you can't just be average or you are going to drown, not survive, whatever. All this to say is, I think there is a point coming in pickleball, specifically with manufacturers or brands, you want to call them that, where there's going to be a lot who don't survive. And then we're going to see who the companies are who last in this market. Let's look back in 5 years and say, which of the up-and-coming paddle brands right now are still around in 5 years? And I think it'll be the ones who innovate, do things differently, or just do everything exceptionally well. But what I was going to say is maybe that 5-year number is shorter than I expected, because this whole UPA thing and the whole barrier to entry and just a lot of stuff around this might be accelerating the timeline of weeding out the small brands who can't just like ride the wave of the market anymore. So we'll see. I think that can feel like a bummer because you think about specific small brands that you like and care for, and you say, oh, they might fall victim to this. However, it is the natural course also.
Yeah.
It just is maybe being, like I said, maybe accelerated by this whole thing. And people intentionally and, on purpose saying, we're going to place a barrier to entry. And that being a goal, that feels pretty bad. It feels pretty exclusive, which is not what we all love about pickleball. One of the reasons, that most people got into it is because it feels like an inclusive sport.
Yes, very much so.
We're talking about business here, so not all business is going to be inclusive. So sorry to rant. Random soapbox. I don't know.
So kind of a slightly off topic, but kind of on topic. Do you think that this will make amateurs less likely to play in PPA events because they're going to have a UPA approved paddle?
Yeah, although I'm not sure if the UPA thing will apply to anything outside of the pro bracket until 2026.
Right, but once that goes through,
So it's a lot of assumptions, but let's just assume UPA and USAP survive alongside each other.
To be clear, 2026 is only a year and 4 months away, so it's not that far away. Yeah.
And I mean, for a brand, it's even closer because your pipeline for a new paddle is 6 months out. So you need to plan and approve. So, I mean, really, we're talking it's 6 to 9 months out for a new brand to say oh, this next one we're working on, it's got to be UPA approved. So it's coming up quick for the brands. If we make a lot of assumptions and say USAP survives as is, UPA also is alongside, but is more for the PPA and MLP only, right? Then I think you're going to see a lot more amateur tournaments just saying USAP approval is enough, and of course more people going to APP and preferring that over PPA, which I think is already happening at the amateur level because if you've experienced it, APP is far better organized at the amateur level than PPA is. So they actually run great tournaments, and more and more people are realizing that. So I think that APP will become more popular, yes, to answer your question. But it's just a guess. A lot of assumptions involved.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. It was just why would you play a PPA event at that point when you have a paddle that you like? I mean, maybe you do have two paddles. You have a, UPA paddle and then a USAP paddle if USAP is still around. So lots of questions to be answered that will probably come to light very quickly and, as time rolls on. So, man, we got a new approval, from UPA. So it should be an interesting time. Lots of drama. We'll
revisit. I'm sure we're going to have to revisit. Yeah. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's time for us to move to NERDTOWN, man. Take us aboard, man. Come on. Choo-choo. Let's go. Let's go.
All aboard. Hey, we skipped NERDTOWN last week, so
it's time to get nerdy, guys. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Here's what we're gonna touch on in NERDTOWN this week. Fiberglass as a facing material.
Let's go.
And you and I briefly mentioned this, and of course, you're seeing it everywhere. Chorus Shapeshifter, which I talked about earlier, has a fiberglass layer in it. The 11624 Monarchs, the Neonic Prime, you see right at the top of that paddle, it says carbon fiberglass.
Yeah. Carbon fiberglass. Bam.
Now, 11624 has been doing it, but they also just put it in the Monarch series, which everybody loved, the Jelly Bean and the All Court. Huge favorites. Really smart to put a fiberglass layer in a Gen 1.5 paddle to kind of bring some pop and some, zazz to the otherwise soft paddle.
J2H.
I don't know what that word was. Yeah, J2H I've been playing with. What else is there? It's recent.
You said the Paddletech BT Bantams.
No, I didn't say that. See, perfect. Yeah. Paddletechs. Yeah. So all that to say is we're seeing it more and more. And not only are we seeing it more and more, people are liking it and it's performing well.
Yes.
And I think there are some general misconceptions, maybe not for our listeners because we've said this a lot, but the general misconception is that fiberglass is stiffer than carbon fiber. And that's actually not true. Now, the reason why people think that makes a lot of sense because generally, fiberglass composite paddle plays poppier than a carbon fiber paddle, which
Yeah.
most of the time, stiffer paddles are poppier. So, A equals B and B, we'll see.
And it has more vibration than your typical carbon fiber or carbon fiber Kevlar or just Kevlar facing material, which was something that I 100% fell victim to. I was like, oh yeah, this is way stiffer. It has so much more vibration.
Yeah, you feel it in your wrist, you feel it in your elbow because the vibration dampening isn't there. So those frequencies of vibration get into your arm and you feel like, this thing is stiff. It's not actually stiff. It's just harsh. Yeah. Which is a totally different thing. However, it's not plush. When we say it's softer than carbon fiber, it's not plush because plush, you imagine like a pillow where it's like almost like memory foam. The ball sinks in and it kind of stays there. Whereas fiberglass is like boing, like really fast rebound rate, and that's what gives it that pop. But it is flexing. If you were to look at it under a microscope, a carbon fiber is going to deflect far less than fiberglass in the same scenario. But that deflection and the quick rebound is what gives fiberglass a little bit more pop, a little bit more power. And I've really been liking it, man. There's also something to say about, I won't get too deep into this, but the facing materials, carbon fiber or fiberglass, they are pre-preg. That means they're impregnated with epoxy resin, as they're made into layers. And there's something to say about how epoxy binds to the fiberglass composite compared to how it binds to carbon fiber. Carbon fiber, which has more tensile strength, is a stiffer, like coarser material. The epoxy will flake off or chip off easier. It doesn't bind as well. So when you have a fiberglass layer on the outside, like the J2H, the 6-0 Black Diamond, people say, oh, these get great spin or the grit lasts longer. There might be a little something to that because the epoxy does bind better to the fiberglass composite. So that's another small advantage, although most of what we're seeing recently is not a fiberglass top layer anyway. We're usually seeing a bottom layer, which makes a lot of sense. We're going to say something?
No, well, yeah, but I'll let you continue.
Oh, that's pretty much all I was going to say. I was going to say, in the Shapeshifter, Matt used this in a very thoughtful way, and this is probably the same kind of idea for the 11.624 paddles, is that the fiberglass is the bottom layer, meaning that, you kind of have to put more force into this face, hitting the ball harder before you're going to get as much action out of the bottom layer, whereas the soft hits are going to be more affected by what's on top. So that's a smart way, and that tends to be why people put fiberglass on the bottom, because where do you want, the power and pop? On the hard swings, on the hard impacts, versus you'd probably rather have a little bit of a softer touch feel on the top layer, which is what a lot of paddle companies do. So.
For sure. Yeah, fiberglass is definitely something that I've enjoyed recently. I did not like it too much on the Hirachi X Control Plus, but I started using the J1H and then the J2H. The J2H was like the first one. I was like, oh, damn, like this is pretty tight. Like I like it. Yeah. And maybe it was because it was a top layer. But then obviously the PaddleTech, the Bantam TKO-CX paddles, which are insanely powerful and very, very fun to play with and just have like a really squishy, soft feel. So
there you go. Perfect example.
Yeah.
That's a Gen 1 paddle. And that like squishy, springy feel, their core may be slightly different, but it's not that different. That's coming from the facing material. So there's your perfect example of fiberglass is not stiff. It has a high rebound rate, and it can feel harsh, but it actually flexes. Feels a little bit springy in a way.
Yeah, so there's obviously the Monarch All Court has been raved about, not just by me. Like I gave it a crazy high review, but also a lot of people have also said very similar feelings about it. But that, and then now when I started using this Mavericks Pro X.
Oh yeah, I haven't got to try that one yet.
Which is super powerful. This, when I started using these, I started to really notice it very, very prominently. But fiberglass gives the paddle almost a sense of more dwell time. And it's, obviously because it's a softer material, it's going to flex more, and that's going to give you more dwell time. But you can feel it. Like, you literally can feel the paddle face grabbing onto the ball more. And it's hard to say this because it is contradictory to what it is, but it does feel softer in some ways to me, in my opinion.
You like
than
you
just
said,
like a
you feel more
traditional.
dwell. You feel like
Yes.
the ball sinks in more, but it's
Right.
not soft in a traditional way in that it
Yes.
feels soft on your joints or anything, because that's not true.
Right. Absolutely not. Yeah. Definitely
Yeah.
not going to be a more plush feeling, but it will feel softer in the sense that the paddle face is more malleable and is going to, have the ball dwell in the paddle more than a traditional carbon fiber, facing material. So that paired with, and this is something I've been like adamantly noticing, like in all fiberglass paddles that I've used, especially when it's a top layer, the peel ply texture feels drastically different than just a traditional carbon fiber peel ply. And this is very apparent in the J2H versus the J2, and it's extremely apparent in the Monarch All Court versus the Monarch Control, which is the Kevlar version. So I don't know why that is. You may be able to tell us. Maybe that's just some type of
Just the binding, I think. Just
Yeah.
the way the epoxy binds.
Yeah, but that has definitely been something I've noticed. Like, it's very obvious. You just run your fingers over the two of those paddles, and it is a completely different peel ply texture. So they probably use the same exact, peel ply sheet and epoxy that they do for both those paddles. But for whatever reason, it just feels drastically different, in my opinion. And I'm sure if I let you run your fingers over, you'd be like, yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah. So I got a couple NERDTOWN analogies that I've thought of for fiberglass. So I'm just going to rapid fire these two analogies I've thought of.
Get it, nerd. Get it.
The first one is fiberglass versus the new titanium face that we've been seeing. Both have a springy feel. However, the springiness in fiberglass, we've been saying, is harsh, where the springiness in the titanium, like a Shogun, is actually pretty plush. So here's my analogy. Imagine you have both a rubber band and a little metal spring, but at the same tension. If you were to stretch that rubber band between your fingers and then go like boing, it's going to shoot back at the same rate. However, that feels soft, right? It doesn't put a bunch of vibration in your fingers. Now stretch a metal spring, and then go boing. Maybe it's the same tension, the same amount of force, but feel how much harsher that feels. That's how fiberglass is in comparison to the titanium weave. So that's my first analogy. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. And I would go a step further and say that titanium is like smooth. Like the feel off the face is smooth. It's a completely unique feeling to any other, typical peel ply, or sorry, not peel ply, layup face material that I've used in the past. It's totally different. It's very smooth.
It does have a springy feel still, which is like hard to put those two things together. It feels springy and plush at the same time. So that's why I thought
bouncy
like one of those
is another
soft,
word I would
wide
use.
rubber bands. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's my second analogy, and this is for tennis players. So fiberglass in comparison to carbon fiber. Imagine a tennis racket strung at a low tension with like hard, coarse poly strings, right? That's your fiberglass. Ton of power, ton of feedback in your hand, and you feel it. It's going to bounce a lot. It's probably going to get a lot of spin. Versus a paddle strung with like gut or synthetic gut, which is softer string but at a high tension. Now all of a sudden the paddle feels like it has a ton of control. It's a little bit more stiff. That's like your carbon fiber paddle. So a little bit more control, a little bit more stiff, a little bit less power than the poly strings at a lower tension. And
that's very interesting. I would never guess that a stiffer racket would feel more controllable.
Yep. Yeah,
like
stiffer,
higher
string tension and stiffer
string tension.
racket flex, both, because they build racket flex into the frame.
Interesting.
A stiffer frame and stiffer strings, higher tension strings, both correlate to more control, less power. And the
I
opposite is
know
true. It's the trampoline effect.
nothing about tennis rackets and,
Well, I
really
figured there
tennis
might
in
be
general.
some, people who've played tennis
Yeah.
in their past who would get that
Yeah, no,
reference. And,
tons for sure.
yeah.
Man, that's interesting. Okay. Appreciate the insight on that, man. Now I know.
So those are my two random analogies that popped into my head. Hopefully that
Way
helps
to go,
people
nerd.
understand, how fiberglass, differs from some of the other face materials that we see in feel
All right.
and in performance.
We're going to end NERDTOWN with, I want you to rank from least favorite to favorite. I want you to rank your favorite face layups. So
Oh God.
we'll do 4. Let's say Kevlar is 1. Carbon fiber and Kevlar blend. Just regular carbon fiber. And then fiberglass being utilized in some fashion. Let's say
In some fashion.
Yeah, let's say it's not a top layer of fiberglass. Let's say it's, second or third layer of fiberglass.
Okay. Well, last is 100% Kevlar for me. It's preference. It's not my thing. I then probably carbon fiber, then carbon fiber Kevlar weave, which those two are really close for me. And then best is using some fiberglass. I mean, honestly, I like the pure fiberglass paddles, even like the J2H, the Black Diamond.
Yeah.
And I also really like whenever it's mixed in. So
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah,
kind
no
of funny because technology, can be cyclical like that sometimes because
Yeah.
old paddles before the raw carbon fiber thing were
Fiberglass, baby. Yeah.
Although used differently. It's a different application, but it's the same
Yeah.
material. So
Yeah. That's interesting. All right. Well, I would go in last place. This is going to be shocking, especially considering how high I praised the Mark 1. Carbon fiber Kevlar weave. That's probably my least favorite. Then I would go with carbon fiber, just alone. And then I would do, in second place, fiberglass being implemented in the second or third layer. But I do also, like you said, really like the J2H a lot. And then number 1 is Kevlar for me. I just feel like that's, yeah.
I'm shocked.
But here's the thing.
What 100% Kevlar paddle do you love? That wasn't your
J2
favorite Monarch?
J2K.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Come on, bro. J3K Pro.
Okay, well, that Pro Weave is different.
It's different. It is definitely different. Yeah.
Whenever I said,
Yeah.
Kevlar dead last, I meant
You're talking
like
about
the
3K.
typical 3K weave.
Yeah.
That 1.5K Pro Weave is I really like it. That would be like tied for my top spot.
Yeah. But to clarify, carbon fiber and then the fiberglass blend and then the Kevlar are all like unbelievably close. But it is for sure that I do not like carbon fiber Kevlar blends as much, except for the Mark 1. I don't know what y'all did with that paddle, but it's for whatever reason I just really liked the feel of that one. Didn't love the feel of the didn't like the Mavericks Clash and Havoc 15
Havik.
Pro. Havik, excuse me. God.
Havik, bro.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt. He's probably listened to all of my reviews. I'm like, this dude's a freaking idiot. Like,
Saying the name wrong
been
every
calling
time.
It is the Mavericks Havik 15. And I just said it on that one just a minute ago, too. But yeah, I didn't love those comparative to their carbon fiber, alternative. And that was the catalyst for this conversation and thought process. Like, okay, maybe I don't like this. And I started comparing some other ones. It's like, yeah, I don't. Like, it's not as pleasant.
It's telling though that both of us just said like, oh, these are so close. We couldn't pick between these two. What that means is that a paddle is greater than the sum of its parts. Like a facing material is not going to make or break a paddle.
Nope.
You could have your quote unquote least favorite facing material on a paddle, but if they did everything else amazing and interesting, and you could love that paddle. Like you just talked about how good the Halo was. That's technically your least favorite face. And the inverse is true, of course, too. They could put your favorite face on a paddle and do other things wrong, or a core that you don't like, and then all of a sudden that's not a paddle you'd ever want to play with. So a paddle is greater than the sum of its parts. You have to choose and combine the elements in the right way to bring out the strengths of each thing. You know what I mean? Like a certain facing material and a certain core or construction method are going to pair together. I think like we mentioned this already, but a great example is the Monarch Jelly Bean. The fact that they did the Gen 1.5, but then put a layer of fiberglass in there, they are those, things are complementing each other and making a better paddle, than just one of those things might make you think.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know that's kind of a cop out, or maybe a non-answer, but that's sort of my thing.
You answered. You said all of them. Yeah. Another really good carbon fiber Kevlar weave paddle is the Grooven Laser 16S, which I think you have. Do you have that on the way?
It's on the way.
Yeah,
I should have it hopefully this week.
Pretty badass. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. By the way, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. There's some other stuff too. Grooven's got some other stuff cooking. Oh, I guess we could talk about it. It's already
it's there.
Yeah, they got the cruise paddles going, which is their Gen 1.5 paddles. So I'm looking forward to trying those out and seeing what they're all about. I think, we've been saying for a year that Gen 1.5 is underdeveloped. Like there needs to be more brands getting onto that. So anyway,
there was
see.
the Vatic Prism line, and that was almost it.
That was it. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And the Hyperion, which was the original actually.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. Well, dude, we did it. We're gonna have this under an hour.
Oh, hey, I got one thing I want to say before we end.
Oh my god.
We don't have. Let me get it over an hour. How close are we?
We're good. I'm just messing with you.
Well, we don't have a Q&A this week, so I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who reached out to me. There was so much support, just like people saying positive things, offering help, just people reaching out interested in business for Pickleball, etc. And the announcement I made last week. So seriously, thank you all so much. This community is amazing. I said it last week, and I'll say it many more times, that the networking and just the meeting people and doing business together is the best part of all this, and it's the main thing that motivated me to kind of move in this new direction. So I really appreciate it, and it makes it all worth it. And it's just been a crazy awesome week for me. I mean, it was literally, I think, 6 days ago, as of now, that I publicly announced, this new direction. And the past 6 days have just been full of positivity and a lot of great communication with great people. And it's I would have never expected it. So I feel humbled, and I'm just super happy about it. So anyway, thank you.
Congrats, man. I would say I didn't expect it, but I 100% did. So none of this is surprising to me. So congrats,
been
man.
My biggest cheerleader.
You're exactly where I knew you were going to be. And dude, you're killing it, bro.
We'll see. I'll keep you updated on the killing it progress.
Yeah. Lewis, it's been 2 years. I haven't made a dime. No one wants. No, you'll be good. All right, let's land this. Guys, thank you for watching the Pickleball Pursuit podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, Lewis, my co-host, Justin. We'll see you episode 14. Peace.